Hello and welcome to another Dungeons & Dragons session dramatization set in the world of Alter Aeon. Our protagonists are Kara the Warmage, Morden the Hexblade, Tess the Sorceress, and Sened the Favored Soul. I am Shadowfax, the Dungeon Master.
So in this session, our heroes will finally face the Turbanas, which were introduced a few sessions ago. Turbanas are a lower-level set of opponents described in one of the final books printed for 3rd edition, the Monster Manual 5. When I prepared the Pellam encounters, the group was level 4, so now that they're level 5, I had to improve the Turbanas a bit to compensate. So they're not exactly like the ones in the book. When we last left our heroes, they were heading south on the coastal road toward Pellam. Morden had completed the ritual that would summon his dark companion, which appeared to be a translucent black dog that followed him wherever he went. His companions merely accepted the creature's presence and did not ask him too much about it. They arrived at the obsidian formations that marked the northern border of Pellam and snuck into the canoa fields north of town. It was about mid-afternoon. Since it was nearing harvest season, the canoa was plenty tall enough for our heroes to hide in. They heard a buzzing sound on the ground, approached it. The group saw a Turbana Eye-Wing rise up out of the canoa, only to be seized by a giant pair of mandibles and dragged down into the dirt. They decided to avoid that, and headed back over to the road, staying just out of sight. There was a row of 4 huts along the coast, and after a quick look around, the party approached and discovered 4 adults on the ground in front of them, 2 males and 2 females. Sened quickly examined them, and found out that one of them was dead, and her throat torn out. The other 3 were unconscious, but alive. Sened found that all of them had bulging necks, and feeling around, it seemed that there was something stuck in their throats. Using a surgical knife from his healer's kit, Sened carefully cut one of them open to discover 4 large eggs inside. Morden asked how old they were, and Sened replied that he suspected them to be about 4 days old, and that they would probably migrate down to the stomach as they grew larger and hatch in another few days. They were coated with a mild acid that burned Sened's hand when he tried to touch one, but after borrowing one of Morden's gloves, he was able to cut all of the eggs free without grievously harming the victim. Working quickly, Sened removed the eggs from the other 2 victims. Nothing they did seemed to wake them, so Kara used a wand to cast Detect Magic in order to try and figure out why they were asleep. She discovered that they were affected by magical sleep spells that would expire in about 6 minutes. The party spotted a group of Eye-Wings coming out of the fort, so each of them grabbed a person and went to hide in a hut. It was too late, though. The half-dozen Eye-Wings had already spotted them and headed straight toward them. Once they were in range, Kara and Tess picked off 3 of them with magic missiles from the doorways. One continued forward, while 2 Turbanas broke off and swung around to the back of the huts. Once they were closer, the group could hear the buzzing of their wings, and the sound had a hypnotic effect on them, making them drowsy. Sened and Fernando succumbed to the lullaby and fell asleep. One went in through the window where Sened was, and fortunately it was spotted, and Morden rushed in and beat it to death with his magic hammer. Another tried to get in with Kara and was fried by a Kilgore's firebolt for its trouble, while Tess took out the remaining Eye-Wing that was buzzing around outside with another magic missile. After that excitement was over, they all moved to one hut, and Sened, Fernando, and the unconscious villagers began to wake up. Tess explained the situation, and the villagers told how they had came to be in their current predicament. The villagers' story was similar to the one the wise woman had told them back in Barquisimeto. It was at this point that Morden decided to scout ahead and see what was going on by the fort. He skirted the edge of town, staying well out of sight, until he got to the opposite side of town by the road, where they had left their cart. However, when he reached the cart, he saw that it was destroyed, and that there was some kind of large bipedal beetle-like thing standing over its remains. However, before Morden could retreat without being seen, the monster spotted him. and advanced to attack, with its fangs and claws. Like lightning, the creature was on top of him. The creature's strength was incredible. It dug into Morden, deep into Morden, with each impact. Morden had no choice but to run. He knew he could not face the creature alone, and so he turned and headed back into the forest and cast an expeditious retreat. With an extra boost of magical speed, he was able to leave the creature far behind, and managed to make it back to the hut where his companions were waiting, without being spotted. When he told them what he had encountered, Kara said that it was likely a vivisector, a kind of insect-like being that lived off the organs of other creatures. After watching the village from the huts for a while, our heroes noticed that some larger turbanas that looked like enormous cockroaches were beginning to move through the village and collecting villagers. Kara called them drowsers. The drowsers dragged them back to the fort while Eye-Wings watched from the sky. A patrol started heading up the street toward our heroes, a pair of drowsers, each with an Eye-Wing in tow. Our heroes decided to stop them. Kara told the villagers to bar the doorway, and the party headed out to confront the monsters. Tess acted first, peppering one of the drowsers with magic missiles, while Morden rushed up to another and clobbered it with his warhammer. Kara let loose an orb of acid and melted the turbana that Tess had injured, and Tess took out the Eye-Wings with another volley of magic missiles. The drowser engaged with Morden buffeted him with its pincers, but Morden easily withstood it. He landed another blow on the creature's head and slew it. Once that threat had been dealt with, our heroes snuck across the village and hid in the hut nearest the fort. Tess had Fernando sneak into the fort and scout it out. Fernando clung to the ceiling rafters of the fort and stayed out of sight. He was in and out in less than an hour, and the sun had set in the meantime. Fernando drew a crude map of the fort's layout in the dirt, and explained to Tess what he had seen, which she relayed to her companions. He said that the turbanas were storing people in the courtyard. He saw 2 drowsers patrolling the fort's outer wall, and 2 guarding the fort's interior. There was another turbana that didn't look like the others, being bipedal and much larger, and then it was in the throne room, being attended by a quartet of Eye-Wings. Considering this information, our heroes planned their next move.
And that is where our session ended. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel to continue following the story of our heroes. Transcripts of our Dungeons & Dragons sessions are available at www.lawful-evil.org/DND. If you enjoyed this and don't already play the game this is based on, you can explore the world of Alter Aeon for yourself by visiting www.alteraeon.com. Remember, the family that plays together stays together. Thanks for listening, and happy mudding, everybody.
Alteraeon.com. That's ALTERAEON.com.